And welcome back to coverage here at Mythic Championship IV from Barcelona. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. We're headed into the second round of booster draft. We have two players down in the feature match area, each of them with a very impressive 8-1 record coming into this round. This is Edgar Magalhaes from Canada. He's on 8-1 from Team Face-to-Face Games. That is him on the left-hand side of your screen right there. On the sitting across from him is Alan Wu from the United States from Team Haruya North America, also on 8-1. The matchup, both players share a color. It's black, but they have diverted otherwise. For Edgar, he's gone for islands in addition to his swamps. So he is on what looks to be a pretty solid version of the Ninja's deck. And for Alan, he is red-black, as you can see here. And he is not the Goblins deck that is often drafted here. This is more just good stuff with removal and get you dead.
Yeah. He doesn't have the synergies, but it still looks extremely solid. Very, very good mana curve with a nice mix of cheap removal. So I think, these are some of the top decks, I think, in the draft. Alan Wu actually coming out victorious against Christian Hauck's pretty sweet-looking snow deck from the look-in that we saw in the last round.
Edgar with the nice turn 2 Watcher for tomorrow. Very good against red-black as well, as it can often block to trade for some of their smaller creatures. And if it demands a removal spell, well, you're happy with that too.
Yeah, but take a look at Alan's hand. It is, I mean, he didn't have the aggressive start here, but you know, he can go turn 3 Alpine Guide, ramp up, and then use whatever removal spell he needs to clear the way so that the Alpine Guide can continue getting through.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. Already forcing the pressure onto Edgar. Edgar has a lot of the cheap enablers that you want for a deck like this, though we haven't really seen them thus far, at least in this draw. He's got a Carrion Feeder, 2 Changeling Outcast, and I believe a Fairy Seer. Yeah, he has one of those too.
Didn't get any of the Smoke Shrouds, though, as we saw. Basically, Calcano did not pass a single one of those during the course of the draft. So, but he does have a couple of really nice payoff ninjas, you know, Ingenious Infiltrator, very, very strong.
And he's got 2 of those.
Yeah.
So really good. Although it looks like he's on the mono blue draw. This is really the only card that he's signaling here is Phantasmal Form, so Alan's just going to snap block.
Okay, and I think Alan is okay with this. I mean, Edgar did get that card, but he basically took a turn off and did not add to the board. So Alan can, you know, follow this up with some pressure. He did lose the land, though, from the Alpine Guide.
And pass a turn back. A swamp would be nice, and there it is.
Yeah, and Alan actually not running out the Plague Engineer, waiting to get a little more information to figure out what he wants to name. Because, you know, despite him not playing anything this turn, he still has access to that Magmatic Sinkhole that he can play at instant speed.
He's probably going to want to, though. This is getting interesting here for Edgar. I believe he has a copy of Unearth in his hand. Yeah, he does.
Ooh, that's a lot of value.
And he can run the value play there with the Watcher. And given the fact that he's facing down no pressure whatsoever, he does have the time to do plays like that.
Yeah, Edgar
he's also considering just running out a Moonblade Shinobi or a Rank Officer. And it looks like he had kind of decided on the Rank Officer and then perhaps changed his mind again.
A lot of strong options here. I mean, given that Alan has a bunch of cards in it, he has to think Alan has some removal. So if anything, he wants to run out a threat that he is okay with dying. So I don't think he wants to run out one of his powerful ninjas, for example. Or maybe he does.
It is interesting because the earlier you get that card on the battlefield, the better it is. But no, he's going to take the more middle ground line, which I really like here, the Rank Officer, which is going to basically guarantee that he gets 2 creatures on the battlefield and protect himself from a single removal spell.
But Plague Engineer is going to be great here. It's going to take out the Rank Officer and also shrink down the other zombie that's in play. Yeah.
Brutal there. Alan Wu with the 1-2 punch as well. He's got the Putrid Goblin on the battlefield. So while Edgar tried to take the most conservative line he could, he did get punished pretty badly for it.
Yeah. Alan's hand is double Pyrophobia and Magmatic Sinkhole.
Okay, so nothing sticking on the battlefield for the next few turns. And that means plays like Unearth on my Watcher actually end up being quite good. The grind is real. And that's what he's going to do. It's not particularly mana efficient to spend your only black source and maybe nothing else for the turn to do this, but you do what you got to do. He's going to take Ninja of the New Moon and put that underneath. Oh, he's got another black source, a swamp. And he has actually both copies of his Ingenious Infiltrators in hand. Boy, if he can just start hitting,
right,
things can get out of hand. But it is going to be difficult to do so. Alan, with that stacked hand of removal that you talked about a second ago, Paul, means that he can pretty much kill anything on the other side of the battlefield for the foreseeable future.
Nice draw off the top here. Undead Augur with multiple zombies in play. The Plague Engineer, because it named zombie, means that this is a safe attack because the token on Edgar's side of the battlefield is a 1/1.
And we're going to see Mob here. So Mob takes down the Plague Engineer. The other two targets didn't look particularly appealing to Edgar, so he's going to live with this. And it's a pretty annoying spot here for Edgar.
Yeah, the Augur was an ideal draw because now Edgar doesn't want to trade these creatures in because now if Alan trades, I mean, he's going to be able to draw cards.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to bite the bullet here, though. If he does get the Undead Augur off the battlefield, while the damage will be done at that point, a little bit annoying, at least it's gone.
Yeah, but I think Alan is very happy with this. He's like, look, I'm going to get your creatures off the battlefield, and I'm going to draw 2 cards, and I'm going to get a Persist Goblin still on the battlefield.
Yeah, it's tough to turn down.
Yeah. But this might be an exchange that both players are happy with because Edgar might just want to get that card off the Watcher.
Whenever I see this, though, I always think, like, it can't be good for both, right? Like, it's got to be worse for one player than the other somehow.
Well, Alan doesn't really know what's underneath that Watcher, right?
Of course.
Oh, that was a Seasoned Pyromancer as one of the draws.
Long-term game plan in effect here for Alan Wu as well.
Very, very powerful card. If Alan empties out his hand, he can just use it as a source of card advantage.
That is generally the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Discarding spells unlimited is a very steep cost.
Yeah, definitely.
Not what you want to be doing. And look at this, the Hardcast Ninja of the New Moon. You do not see this very often, just running out the 6/3 vanilla.
Pyrophobia, very cleanly answering 6/3. Oh, man.
Ugh.
Yeah. But Alan doesn't really have a good follow-up here.
Just chipping in for one with the Gabo. Okay.
Because his hand is full of removal. He did draw Igneous Elemental, which is discounted because he not only cycled Forgotten Cave, but of course sacrificed the mountain off the Alpine Guide. So if Edgar runs out of 2 toughness creature, he has a nice target there as well. And yeah, I mean, Alan's just getting all the value with these removal spells. Oh,
jeez,
and even Firebolt.
Firebolt.
But he's going to run out the Elemental here because he wants to continue putting pressure onto the battlefield too. So this is huge.
Yeah, big play here. He gets a really clean 2-for-1, a 4/3 on his side, plus a removal spell for a 4-drop on the other. It is hard to ask for much more from a card than that. Igneous Elemental doing work.
Yeah, and you know, just during the Curse of the Draft, red seemed like one of the open colors, and I feel like many of those cards just ended up in Alan Wu's deck.
Yeah, they're all in his hand right now.
Yeah, like all the premium red removal.
Seriously, there's Gluttonous Slug off the top of the library, but in the meantime, Edgar just
like,
forced to
all
just start
the removal.
He's like every single creature he's played has been killed. And the crazy part is that Alan's not done yet. He still has more removal in hand.
But wait, there's more.
Right. There's a Changeling Outcast. That's not long for this world. And there is another dead creature. This is just insane. I wonder if Edgar's going to be like, come on, man.
Like, really? You have all this removal?
Like, this is just getting a little ridiculous, don't you think? So, Firebolt?
He can go Firebolt, Sinkhole, and just attack.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. He's actually going to offer up the Putrid Goblin because the other half of Firebolt would finish off, and he could keep the Sinkhole in his hand that way.
Right.
That's clever. I like that from Alan Wu. But he does need to make sure this Infiltrator doesn't get to do its thing.
Right, but because he has access to the Sinkhole and he just has a 0/3 creature to block, things are still looking pretty safe for him.
That was exactly what Edgar drew, by the way, his own copy of Gluttonous Slug.
And Edgar does have a mob, but he probably wants to use that to kill the Elemental, unless he wants to try to get some value here and get that slug off the board and just try to get an attack in.
It is so tempting to do so, and it is not going to work out.
He is doing that.
Yeah, and there it is, Magmatic Sinkhole to kill it. And Edgar's like, come on, man, you've killed every single creature I've played. And now Alan Wu is down to just the Seasoned Pyromancer, and he drew a Slug, so he gets to play both.
Yeah, Slug, Pyromancer. Man, Alan getting so much value here.
This is insane. What did he draw? Mountain something?
Probably more removal spells.
Well, at least one was a mountain. Wow, he has just decimated the board of Edgar.
Yeah, and Edgar got a lot of value too. You know, just getting that Watcher into play multiple times, but yeah, Alan's deck, I mean, Firebolts, Igneous Elemental, Seasoned Pyromancer, so many ways to get ahead on cards.
This was just such a good draw from Edgar.
Right.
Right? Like, he had it all.
Yeah, I mean, but both sides, though. I mean,
yeah.
Alan's timely draw of the Undead Augur was really, really clutch there.
Okay, well, the Elemental gets in for 4, and now it's a land off the top of the library, and that leaves Edgar Magalhaes dead. And that is Alan Wu picking up game number 1 in impressive fashion. I got to say, if, you know, not knowing what Alan had in his hand, if you would have showed me Edgar's hand, I would have said, well, that's a winner.
Right.
You can piece together a win with a hand of that power level, and boy, would I have been wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Alan's deck looked fantastic just from what you saw. Not only did he have a mix of just all the great common and uncommon removal spells, he also had the rares. I mean, he had the Pyromancer.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you just saw just the amount of work that Igneous Elemental can do. It's one of those cards that I think some people are maybe sleeping on because it just does so much work. Even when you pay full price, it's still fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably the best red common, assuming you have a land in your graveyard.
Yeah,
right. It's just better than anything else, but that is a little bit of work that you need to do to make it work. Well, that is game number 1 in the books. We're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll have more from that match and the others in the feature match area. Don't go anywhere.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Mythic Invitational champion Andrea Mengucci, and we're going to crack this pack of Modern Horizons. So go for it, Andrea, but you've got a special ritual before you open any pack, right?
Every time I open a pack, either paper or online of Modern Horizons, I always chant Vren and 6, Vren and 6.
All right, well, let's see if we can get there today. And lay out these cards on the table for me. And while you're doing this, let me know, do you have any preferences? You're sitting down, it's the first draft of the day. What do you want to open most of all besides Vren and 6?
So, Ninja is the best archetype, but I think green is kind of the most open strategies. For example, Trumpeting Herd that you see here is kind of like a great common in green that, ooh, Mono War. Yeah, Mono War is probably the best common on the set, so looking for that, but unless there's Random 6, of course. Alright, we got a Goblin Engineer, which is good in Modern, but not great in draft. So, the pick here is gonna be the top common, Mono War, just great with so many, it's just so good in this format because Trumpeting Herd is one of the best common and it makes a token, so bouncing a token is just a removal spell. And also if you equip it with a Smoke Shroud and you just go ninjutsu, you can bring it back, play it again. It's just, Mono War is definitely the best common in the set, and I'm super happy to first pick it.
Are you somebody that will be looking to draft ninjas going into the draft and forcing it if it's something that you can even remotely try and force in a draft?
Usually I force archetypes, but this time around is one of the first time that I'm not gonna force the best archetype. I think that Ninja is unanimously the best archetype, so it's really something to actually just the opposite, just get away from. For example, White is very underdrafted, and I found a lot of success with White recently, so I'm gonna try to take Mono War now because it's the best card and see if I get, you know, a Changeling Outcast, I'm gonna take it and go for Ninja. But if not, I'm super happy to take a Mob or Trumpeting Herd out of this pack if Mono War wasn't here.
All right, so Mana War, the pick for Andrea Mengucci here in this Modern Horizons Crack-A-Pack.
And welcome back to the booth here in Barcelona. Marshall Cycliffe with Paul Chion, and we're cruising our way through the booster draft here. Modern Horizons is the name of the game. Alan Wu kind of teaching us how it's done there in that first game. Took what would have been a pretty good draw from Edgar and just said, nah, dog, that ain't it.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking to Rich earlier who had a chat with Alan, and Alan described his deck thusly. He said it's a stone cold 10 out of 10.
Wow, and you know, Alan
That's
is,
high praise.
He's not going to say that unless he, you know, really feels that way because, you know, I mean, we saw what his deck could do. He has everything. He has a fantastic mana curve great curve, rares, removal spells. He has it all.
Yes, he does. Let's take a look at our side table here and see what's going on Arnaud Huckmiller. Again, we've been kind of following his progress. Uh-oh. Well,
Yeah.
this doesn't look good. Terrell Severin is ahead on board and up a game.
So far, we have not seen the White Drafters win a match. We have a draw and a loss on off atop side.
Indeed.
Trumpeting Herd doing a lot of work here. Arnaud, I mean, I feel like we've said this multiple times before, but really needs a wall of 1,000 cuts.
Speaking of cuts, yeah, this is not a great spot here for Huckmiller. He is now, oh, and look at this.
Yeah.
Urza's Rage to finish off the creature in response to the pump spell, and this is 6 damage. This is surely over here at this point.
Yeah, he's down to 5 here.
He's down to 5, so if he runs out the wall of 1,000 cuts, he'll die.
And if he doesn't, he's probably just playing a bunch of chump blockers.
Yeah, I think we're going to see him just scoop him up here. There's no way out here for Arnaud Huckmiller. This disaster draft not looking great for him.
Yeah, I think he's...
Okay,
yeah.
he can represent Defile here, but I don't think Terralf is going to flinch. And yeah, look at that. He's just got Firebolt, and that's going to do it.
That was the match?
Yes, that was game number 2 going to Terralf Severin, and he has won 2 games to 0. So far a draw and a loss there for our 8-0 player overnight, and this has been a rough draft for him. He's got one more round to go to try to salvage a win and then get back to business in Modern. In the meantime, we're going to get back to business on our main feature match here.
All right, exactly how you want to start out. Ooh, and found a mob underneath the Watcher, so that's huge.
Watcher for tomorrow. Going to get a little brick walled here by the Gluttonous Slug. But like you said, it's still going to provide value. And against black and red, there's really no way to not have that happen.
Definitely blocking. If you're playing against a blue-black deck, there's no way you're going to let your opponent get any kind of ninjutsu action going.
Yeah, you saw no hesitation there from Alan.
Alan might be light on lands here, though.
Light on lands, heavy on removal.
Yep.
And he's going to play the Blade Black Sliver, which is going to pump up the Slug, making an even better blocker. But you're right, he did miss a land drop for the turn, so passes the turn back to Edgar.
This does mean that if Edgar does have a ninja of some sort, I mean, he can get in with one of the creatures. He can get an unblocked creature in, although then Alan would double block the Slug and just eat it. Oh, wow, look, okay. That's a Mana War that Edgar, I think, just drew here, so...
He's got one of those in his list, and there it is on the battlefield. Many consider it the best common in the format. It's certainly on the short list, and you can see why. It's forcing through some damage, and you know, Mana War, when your opponent's missing land drops, is insult to injury. It is really tough to start coming back as they build out their board and set you behind.
Definitely. Alan really needs to find land.
And he did. There's the swamp off the top of the library, though I do see a lot of red cards in hand for him.
So yeah, so he's going to be able to play Gluttonous Slug and fire off the Firebolt.
Firebolt, yeah.
But, I mean, we saw Edgar's hand, he's double Unearth. And unearthing back a Mana War is really powerful.
Ooh, I get chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, so things lining up very nicely here for Edgar. He's going to be able to unearth Mana War, return a creature, and I believe he also has a Moonblade Shinobi in hand.
Yeah, I wonder if he just wants to take the turn to get that thing going here. The Gluttonous Slug plus the Watcher means that he will get one creature through regardless, but he can do both. Here's Mana War. He's left himself 3 mana available, which is how much the ninjutsu cost is.
Did he? It looks like he did not evolve the Slug, or was it an 0-3 last? No.
He replayed it this turn, so.
Okay. Right.
He's just going to pick it up anyway.
Yeah, and this is something that can happen. I mean, the ninja deck can just kind of snowball the game here by getting in these attacks. And now Alan has a lot to deal with, and Edgar just has even more backup with a second copy of Unearth in hand.
Yeah, you know, that wasn't the worst draw, though. He drew Unearth, Alan did, and he can use that to get back the Sliver and play Pyrophobia this turn.
It definitely wants to get that Shinobi off the battlefield.
And it looks like he's just going to go for 2 creatures here rather than the Yeah.
Both do a good job of just trading with the Shinobi. So even if Edgar has a removal spell, you know, Alan does have either the Sliver to trade or the Slug, which is a 1/4, which is just bigger than the Shinobi.
Yeah, it is going to be tough for Edgar to get through with that Moonblade Shinobi again this turn, though if he can, he will certainly do it.
Yeah, I wonder if Alan has somewhat stabilized here.
Starting to feel like it, though. We're going to need to see some lands from him to really kind of seal that stance.
Yeah, Edgar has a mob, but
He's got a mob, a slug, and unearth.
yeah, I mean, unearthing the Watcher, I mean, that's still pretty solid value.
It is. He's unfortunately a little crimped on black mana. So he's going to play the slug.
Is he going to go for a mob here? Okay, that's what it looks like he's doing.
Does seem to be the case. He's going to mob away the gluttonous slug.
Is he just happy to trade here? Okay, no, he's just attacking with the Mana War. Okay.
Makes good sense.
This makes sense, because if I think Alan wants to just preserve his life total, so he might just be incentivized to block the Mana War, and then Edgar can unearth the Mana War, which will be a huge tempo play next turn.
Right, also it would clear away the last blocker for the Moonblade Shinobi, so yeah, this works out pretty well for Edgar. I think
really
he
nice
knows,
sequencing.
Yeah, that this isn't like him putting the nails in the coffin on the game, but it's another step in that direction. Still a lot of spells in hand for Alan Wu, and a player of his skill level
he might
certainly
just
has the ability to find his way out. Yeah, if he takes it, it's tough. He's kind of taking it either way. Yeah, he does. He's just respecting that Moonblade Shinobi a lot.
You know, really just
another brick on land there.
It really needed a mountain there.
Fire off a couple of Pyrophobias and clean up this mess. He is going to have to fire off one of them here, though. And he's going to actually take out the slug. So really putting a lot of his hopes on that Bladeback Sliver here. If it gets out of the way, things are going to get ugly. In the meantime, it's not. It's going to stay on the battlefield, holding off the Moonblade Shinobi, and Edgar's going to attack for 3. But now, Alan says, okay, I'm going to trade off because next turn my plan is to Pyrophobia away the Moonblade.
And I think Edgar's going to just go for some value here and unearth the Watcher.
He could have done nothing for the turn and gone for the Mana War next turn for any potential blockers, but the time when that's not good is if Alan untaps and uses a removal spell, and that's very likely here.
Right. Yeah, Alan really wants Mountain here so he can play 2 spells in 1 turn.
No, he draws a 4-drop Rank Officer instead. Really not what he wanted to see.
Yep.
I mean, it wouldn't be terrible if he drew a land next turn. It, it helps you kind of convert uncastable cards in hand into board presence, which is what he's in the market for.
And he runs out the Sliver instead of just killing the Shinobi.
Risky biz. And that's a mob off the top.
Wow,
look
big
at this.
Draw.
Boom, kill that, and it hits you again. Now we're starting to get to the point where Plague Engineer needs to be part of the equation for Alan, or it's just going to be over.
Right. Yeah, and this is probably just the game.
Yeah, he's already
Alan's
down to
at
4, right? Boy, these mana troubles really tough for Alan Wu. You can see that he's had the tools to deal with everything on the other side of the battlefield, similar to in Game 1, but it's just too much pressure when you've missed too many land drops. I mean, 6 lands to 3 right now in favor of Edgar.
Oh, he can double spell this turn. He can go Gluttonous Slug and Magmatic Sinkhole, but I just don't think that's enough anymore.
So he can Sinkhole away the Shinobi.
Take 2 in the air and block the Watcher.
2, but he's just, well, again, the Plague Engineer could get him out of it, right? Now let's find out. So block, kill, take 2, go down to 2. Is there any more pressure from Edgar? No, it's just a land. Let's see what he can rip off the top of the library. Well, it's another land, but it's just a swamp.
He can still use a removal spell to kill a flyer. Doesn't feel great, but he has to do it to stay alive.
Alan Wu is hanging in.
Doing everything he can. Alan's at 2, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now he's at 1.
Oh, and there's Rank Officer off the top of the library producing 2 lethal threats. And that might just be too much for any card off the top of the library here for Alan. He's facing down 4 lethal threats, and he's going to pack them in. So that is game number 2 going to Edgar. And we're going to get an exciting game 3 conclusion here. They are the last match going into future match area, as you can quite plainly see. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to take just a short break. When we come back, though, we'll have the conclusion of our round 2 match here from Barcelona. Don't go anywhere.
Hey everybody, I've got Li Shitian here from Team Haruyu Sword, currently leading the team series, and I'm going to give you this pack of Modern Horizons, and we're going to crack it here. Okay. All right, so in your opinion, what would be the best thing to open?
I think in common, I think Mob is the best card. And then like uncommon, I like uncommon, I think it's the Ninja, the blue-black Ninja that allow you to draw 1 card.
All right, well, let's take a look at what we're actually opening here. And Defile, there's another good black removal spell. Arkham's Astrolabe is a card that I personally really like. It's a lot of fun. But, ooh, we've got a nice mythic here, Sword of Truth and Justice.
So in here, I think like there's 2 good black cards here, and then 1 of the good red card. Like, I like black cards here. Like this card have lots of value and synergy. Like the Changeling works with Cipher and like also the Return from Extinction, and then like when you have playing the value decks, Grave Shifter is also good. And then like if you have Ninja, like returning this card is just perfect. So I think I'm going to pick Grave Shifter here. Like the sword looks good, but I think it's.
I mean, I'm pretty tempted. This is a beautiful mythic.
It's kind of underpowered in the format, I think, because the format got lots of removal. And then even you connect with the sword, the power level is actually not that good. So I think I will go for the Grave Shifter here.
How much do you like Grave Shifter over something like Defile? Is it close?
I think it's very close. Like this like the Elemental, Defile, and Grave Shifter is very close to me, but the Grave Shifter has more synergy with other cards, like more potential with other cards. So I think I like Grave Shifter more.
All right, Grave Shifter is the pick from this pack. Sometimes you got to pass the mythic. Li Shitan, everybody.
And welcome back to the feature match area here in Barcelona. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon bringing you coverage of Booster Draft. We're drafting Modern Horizons. After we finish up this round, there's 1 more to go. Then we'll be into Modern. But right now, we've got a nice one. 2 very good decks here. Edgar Magalhaes, she's playing up against Alan Wu. It's black, red stuff, right? Nothing particular. It's not a it's not a Goblins deck or anything like that.
A good black-red deck.
Yeah, really good. Alan, again, gave it a 10 out of 10. And coming from him, that carries a lot of weight, at least with me.
But no red source. So Alan having some mana issues in both games 2 and 3. And this is, and look at this.
This is devastating here. Alan can start to fall way too far behind. Ingenious Infiltrator draws you a card when it hits. Sort of ensures that you're going to be hitting your land drops and moving things forward here if you're sitting in Edgar's seat. Or maybe I spoke too soon. He did not hit his land drop. He had to
What is
discard.
happening?
Okay, this could help out a lot, especially if it can stick on the battlefield for a turn where Alan can take advantage of having that extra mountain.
Right. And now this is fantastic for Alan, because even if Edgar has something like a Mana War or a removal spell, he just has 2 blockers for the Infiltrator. So yeah, Alan absolutely needed to find a mountain that turn. If he doesn't, things could have gotten really out of hand.
And that was perfect. He's got a blocker now. He's got a land. There's a land off the top for Edgar.
Yeah, that has completely unlocked Alan's hand. Curious to see if Edgar is going to go for a mob.
No. Remember, he lined up last turn by discarding that Headless Spectre, and now he gets it back with Unearth. Again, excellent sequencing here from Edgar. He's shown us some really nice stuff here after playing the Gluttonous Slug as well. So a little bit of a setback. He had to kind of set things up, but I mean, he got 5 mana worth of creatures onto the battlefield that turn, so he's got to be happy with that.
Yeah, and it looks like Alan wants to run out a spell here first because There is a reasonable chance that the Alpine Guide could die because it does have to attack every turn if possible. Although I don't know if Edgar really wants to lose either the Spectre or the Infiltrator. Might just choose to block with the Slug.
Soak up the 3.
I wonder if Alan's going to run out maybe the Seasoned Pyromancer. Just try to continue filling up the graveyard and just smooth out the draw, or if you can just run out anything else. Okay, so yeah, he's
doing it.
keeping a land too in hand because there's still, again, that solid chance that the Alpine Guide dies, and when he does need to sacrifice a mountain.
Wow. 2 non-lands. That means he's going to get 2 1/1 red elemental creatures.
And no land.
Okay, well, a little scary start there from Alan, but now he looks like he's in decent shape. As you mentioned, the Alpine Guide compelled to attack every turn, so he does so.
Yeah. And Edgar can either just choose to take the 3 here or just block with the Gluttonous Slug.
It feels like the Headless Spectre is worth preserving. At this point, I wonder if the Ingenious Infiltrator is. It looks like the chances of it actually getting into the red zone and connecting again are very slim.
It is. However, if he attacks with a Spectre and then has a Ninja in hand, he can get in and draw a card. So I think he'd rather still have it in play in case he draws.
Just for its static?
Right.
Sure.
He does have multiple ninjas in deck.
It also is a must block, right? It's not the type of thing that Alan can just start taking 2 from.
Right.
And that could have an effect on the game as well. Here comes Headless Spectre for 2.
But look
no
at this
ninjutsu.
Look at this board that Alan has amassed, though. He went from missing a lane drop into having, the permanent advantage here.
All right, Rank Officer is going to hit the battlefield. I think Edgar likes what he has in his hand, though. Trigger. And are you going to discard? Yes, he is. Unearth. He figures that's better with no targets in the battlefield. It's better just to be a zombie.
Yeah. And
Also
Rank
gets-
Officer also double triggering the Gluttonous Slug, but not going to matter as Alan was able to put multiple tokens on the battlefield and then utilizing that mana, that virtual mana, by tapping down the creatures and casting a mob. So really nice tempo turn here for Alan, putting
Seriously.
a bunch of creatures in play and then convoking out that mob.
I mean, he paid 3 mana.
Right.
And he got 4 power and 4 toughness and a 5-drop removal spell all in that same turn.
Yep.
Not the worst.
Edgar has a string of disappearances in hand, so debating whether or not he wants to save his slug.
Oh, it's a tough sell, isn't it? After you've built up all those counters, you have to start over again.
Right.
Oh, he's got mob, it looks like.
Okay.
So mob and then re-mob. The slug or the guide.
Right. Those are the 2 targets.
He's going to
Going
just
with
take
the
out the slug. Those do really get out of hand at some point, and you can see the respect that they get. Both players aiming mobs at the other player's slug.
Yeah, I mean, 3/6 basically just blocks everything.
But now Alan's looking very good here with that hand. He's got a Magmatic Sinkhole. He's got a Cyclops, Silumgar Scavenger, too. Just a lot of action.
Right. A lot of options.
Boy, he wishes he had that Scavenger on the battlefield last turn. There's a lot of things died.
Right, yeah.
But still, this matchup does seem to be one where it's very attrition. They're really trading resources, and if you could just have that Scavenger sitting there, that can really benefit you.
Yeah, Alan just figuring out how many creatures he wants to attack with. Keeping a 1/1 back, it can just keep that Rank Officer at bay.
And he's even got his own Rank Officer to replace. Discarding the Sliver and getting a 2/2. He'd rather just have it on the battlefield now. Probably figures the Blade Black Sliver's ability is not going to be relevant for a while.
Yeah, and he now has 5 cards in graveyard too, so he can just play Magmatic Sinkhole here for 1 red mana.
Ninja of the New Moon in hand now for Edgar.
Oh, and he might just be thinking, okay, do you have it? Do you have the Sinkhole? Because I can attack with the Spectre and ninjutsu in Ninja of the New Moon, but then Alan can respond with the 1 mana Magmatic Sinkhole.
That's right. That is the only answer here. Oof. Because he would get a card out of it as well. It is really tempting for Edgar.
But it is a huge tempo swing. if he does go for the Ninja of the New Moon. And he's going to go for it.
He's going to do it. He kind of has to.
Yeah. Oh, man. 1 mana Magmatic Sinkhole. He's like, please, just don't have it.
Seriously.
And Alan just setting this up beautifully, just filling up the graveyard with the Rank Officer and the Pyromancer, taking full advantage of all the mana from the removal spells from the Mob and the Sinkhole. Oh, man.
Perfect. Perfect setup there for Alan. Now, let's not... Look, that was not a disaster from Edgar's standpoint. It was bad, right? But he still has the Headless Spectre in his hand. It was a 1-for-1.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is it was bad in the sense that it was such a huge tempo shift.
What you were saying is 100% correct.
Right.
I'm just saying let's now take a look and go, okay, so that sucked.
Right.
You know, if you're in Edgar's seat. But he's still in this game, right? That wasn't the type of play that he can't recover from. It's just going to be really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, Alan,
with the information we have.
Right, with Alan's hand, it's going to be extremely difficult. Alan can just run out Quakefoot Cyclops this turn, get in for a gigantic attack. Maybe keeps 1 token back in case Edgar has a removal spell, just to keep that Rank Officer at bay. Definitely attacking with the bigger creatures here. It looks like he's keeping both of the tokens back. So Alan thinking he's in an ahead enough position where he can just afford not to get in those extra points of damage.
Okay, the Headless Spectre is going to hit the battlefield again, but it looks way too small and way too slow to be the type of thing that can save Edgar at this point. And Alan Wu has the Pyrophobia to kill, finally, that Ingenious Infiltrator and get it off the battlefield. That's the only thing with 3 toughness.
Is this a lethal attack if he attacks with everything?
This is a huge attack. Let's see. Block,
4, 3,
block,
3, 4,
2,
5, 6.
4. Yeah. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I don't think Edgar can survive this turn.
I think.
Does he have a string?
He still has that string, so he can survive this turn, but I don't think he can turn it around and win it himself.
Yeah, he also has Phantasmal Form, it looks like, in his hand. But, yeah, none of these are where he needs to be at this point. And you can kind of see it on his face. Now he's just going to scoop him up, and that is
just too far
Alan
behind.
Wu. Man, stone cold 10 out of 10. He was not kidding.
Right.
Because we saw some pretty nice draws and some nice plays there from Edgar, and none of it mattered.
Yeah, no, I mean, once he absolutely had to find that mountain on that one turn because Edgar also had a phenomenal draw. He also has a very powerful deck, but he did. And, you know, the one thing to consider was the turn where Alan did play the Alpine Guide. There was some consideration to fire off the mob to keep Alan off of his spells because you knew he had all gas in hand. But by killing the Alpine Guide, I mean, you're getting a 3/3 off the battlefield already, but on top of that, you're getting that land off the battlefield because Alan was able to kind of just use the Pyromancer and just build upon that and get so much value from both of his removal spells.
Yeah, that was really tough. And, you know, the thing is with what we knew, I mean, Alan had another Alpine Guide in his hand. Like, he just gets to, like, yeah, sure, no problem. You know, glad you used up your mob. We'll just run it back up. All right, well, that's going to do it for this round of action. We'll be back with more. But first, Rich and Maria at the desk after these messages.